Blender. It's a great software that I've known about for 4 years now, and I never really gave it any of my time to sit down and learn it. I always thought it was too hard and that I would never be able to make much of anything with it. There would be times where I'd give it a half-effort attempt, but I'd usually give up within 15 minutes of loading up a project. And that's how it was for 4 years. Something I had full access to but never gave it much of my time. And then one sad, depressing day in March as I sat alone in my room animating my 4 things I hate about Florida video with a process that I found to be mentally draining. A process similar to puppet animation but required me to rebuild my character over and over again for each scene I needed to animate. And because I did this in a free editing software, I would face glitches that would scatter my individual character assets all across the editing viewport, which I would have to fix every individual frame of. Here's a TikTok I created displaying one of these glitches with me complaining about it. It's my most liked TikTok. People enjoy suffering over triumph, it seems. So as I wrapped up the animation of my Florida video, I made a decision. A decision that became the best decision I have ever made. To sit down and finally learn Blender. Having a permanent 3D character to pose and animate sounded way better than rebuilding my 2D character over and over again. So the day after I uploaded my Florida video, I got straight to work to learn Blender. I loaded up a new project with creating a character in mind, but I knew jumping straight in on my own wasn't the way to go. I needed to learn how things worked, so I looked up a tutorial. Let's see here. Oh, what's this? A donut tutorial? Oh, nah, that's way too many parts. I can't sit through all that. I'd rather spend eternity elsewhere. I need to make blank in 3D, so... Oh, hey, a character tutorial. This one should help. So I sat down and followed this tutorial by Pixo3D exactly. I did everything he did, and it really helped me wrap my head around Blender. And then I discovered something. Blender was never hard! I was just stupid! Why did I never do this before? Look, if you're someone wanting to get into Blender but you think it's too hard, I want you to watch the same video I watched and follow it step by step. Do everything Pixo3D does. It doesn't cover everything to do with Blender, but it teaches you the basics of simple modeling, and it will help you a lot. And Pixo3D, if there's a sliver of a chance you're watching this, thank you. I love you. So with my newly acquired but limited knowledge about Blender, I jumped straight into translating blank into the 3rd dimension. And so I sat on my computer for hours testing out different ways of modeling him. You see, the main difference between my 2D and 3D designs is the way the head connects to the body. In 2D, the head attaches right to the top of the torso, and in 3D, it doesn't. This is because I simply couldn't figure out how to do that without blank looking weird. I mean, the arms were never connected before, and neither were the legs, so what's one more floating body part? Bloop. After spending more time modeling the arms and legs, I came up with this design. Right here is the first 3D blank I successfully finished, and I was rather content with it. Now, I may have had a finished model, but it couldn't do anything. It was just sort of useless at this stage. I needed to make it posable, and to do that, it needed a rig. So back to YouTube I went in search of a rigging tutorial, and I found this video by TLD Studios. I sat through it, again following it to a T, gaining the permanent knowledge of character rigging. And there I had it. I was able to move my character. But I overlooked a very important detail when it comes to character rigging, something that would come back to haunt me. But for the time being, my character had no issues whatsoever. Everything went smoothly. I gave the rig IK controls with the help of this tutorial by Royal Skies, and it was looking good. So I had this fully rigged character, but it had no textures. So what is a man to do when he wants to texture his character? That's right, he takes straight to YouTube again to find another tutorial. Now, I don't remember exactly who I watched to learn this information, but the process of texturing something in a 3D software requires UV unwrapping the character's mesh. Don't know what that means? Yeah, me neither. But I found out. UV unwrapping is basically skinning your character. You place these seams on your mesh, which is where your 3D object will unfold onto a 2D plane. Then you export the UV map to a PNG. Pop it into whatever drawing software you prefer. I prefer Krita because it's free. And then get to drawing whatever textures you want over the UVs. Save that once your textures are looking textured. And in the shading tab of Blender, hook the image texture up. And there we have it, a finished character. And I know what you're thinking. Hey, this isn't the model used in your videos. And you're right. This thing is probably the ugliest piece of garbage I have ever created. I could never let this be the face of my channel. I don't even know how I let myself get this far with this model. Being unhappy with my work, I loaded up another Blender project and completely restarted. I did the whole modeling process over again, but this time I did things differently. I made it look good. And then I decided to do something differently with Blank's textures. Instead of the default dull look, I wanted to give it a cartoony cel-shaded look. So one tutorial later and I had it complete. I only had one more important thing to do, and that was to rig it. So I followed the same process as before. I gave him a rig, and before I added IK controls, I wanted to give it a test. So I parented the mesh to the armature and I started posing. What? Huh? Why isn't it bending correctly? The arm isn't even connected to the armature right. What the heck? You know what? Maybe if I add the IK controls, the problem will be fixed. Let me just do that. All right, let's see if that did anything. Okay, YouTube has been handy so far. I'll just look up the problem and there's got to be a fix for it. Huh? Weight painting? Oh, okay, I think I understand. All right. I'll just do this. It shouldn't take too long. Yeah, that's me right there. I'm on the floor of my room. It's dark outside compared to the light-filled scene showed previously. Well, it's been about 6 hours. You might be wondering what happened. Well, it's not something I want to go into. Remember when I said I overlooked something that would come back to haunt me? Well, this is it. Just know that weight painting is no joke when you're a beginner to Blender. If you're someone wanting to get into 3D character creation and rigging, just know that you will have to inevitably face the trial of weight painting. It will tear at your sanity, bring you to a lower point than you ever thought was possible in your life. Trying to wrap your head around why geometry that has nothing to do with the bone you're moving is being affected. But you know what? Only the weak-minded give up. And last time I checked, I've uploaded 5 YouTube videos using Blender. That's right. I conquered the task of weight painting. After 2 more days. But it was done. And I swore to myself I would never do that process ever again in my life. But I quickly broke that promise to myself when I updated my character's design. It was still an irritating process, but it was a little less painful now that I knew what I was doing. It didn't stop me though from making a YouTube community post captioned with the word pain and a screenshot of my weight painting progress. And I can see myself having to do it again in the future. As an artist, things can always be better, and my character is no exception to that. But for now, I'm gonna leave him alone. There's one last thing to go over involving Blank, and that's his face. I don't know if you've noticed so far, but Blank is faceless. And this is because the face is entirely done in the 2D animation section of Blender. It's broken down into 3 individual parts, the eyebrows, eyes, and mouth. They're all separate grease pencil drawings with different frames hooked up to individual time offset modifiers, so I'm able to just flip through each of their different drawings. It allows me to lip sync really easily and adjust the expressions. I figured this out with a tutorial from Cartoon Cocktail because if it wasn't apparent already, I cannot figure stuff out on my own. So, if I'm not mistaken, that pretty much covers everything involving Blank. When it comes to the journey, making him was the hardest part. Everything else was a little bit easier, like building the sets. Making the sets actually has to be one of my favorite parts about making my videos. There isn't a whole lot to say about them, but I'd like to just go off script for a bit and pan around the different sets I've created for my videos. A little bit of an out-of-bounds tour, I should say. Alright y'all, that's the video. Blender has been quite the adventure so far. As of recording this, I have a total of 324 hours on record, and by the time I wrap this video up, that number will be even higher. I'll probably place my updated hours somewhere on the screen, but I hope you enjoyed hearing me go on about my journey. I did have a plan to go over my video making process, but I'm still experimenting with that, so I'll go over it in a future video. But for now, I'll see you later. Bye. Finally finished another video. I hope they like it. Huh? Hello?